So let's go on to our warm-up with our fractions. And so this is a chain. We're going to start here where the 0 is, and we're going to follow the arrows. And tonight we also have some questions. Okay, so I'm going to give us, because this one is much easier than the other ones, I'm going to give us about 1.5 minutes to do this. And when I tell you, you can start. So in about 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and start. About 30 seconds left. Okay, and you can stop. So we start with 0 and we add a 7th. That gives us 1/7. If we add another 7th to that 7, then we have 2/7. And then we add another one, and that's 3/7. And another one, 4/7. And then we have 5. And then we add another one, we have 6/7. And another one, that's 7/7 or 1. I'm going to keep it simple and just stick to improper fractions. So that's 8/7, and we add another one, that's 9/7, and then we have 10/7, 11/7, and then we add another one, that's 12/7, 13, 14, or 2. If you wrote 2, that's fine as well. 15, 16, and 17. 17/7. So if you did mixed fractions, that's fine. It was easier to just leave it as improper fractions. Doesn't matter. It's not wrong. So you can still give yourself a mark if you did improper fractions. So all we really did was go add a 7th, add a 7th, add a 7th, add a 7th. And then how many 7ths did we have at the end? 17 of them. Okay, so please feel free to brag in the chat if you got it. Good stuff. Remember, it's not 17, it's 17/7. So you need to put the 17 over 7. Yeah, and as per usual, you take however many you attempted and then give yourself a mark out of that. So if you attempted 15 and you got 10 right, then your mark is 10 out of 15. Okay, and keep a track of that because it's nice to see how you improve. Okay, so we're going to go further now and say, so how many 7ths are there in 2? Can someone put that in the chat if you know how many 7ths are there in 2? You can use your chain to help you. 14/7, that's right. And actually, if you go here answer is right there. So 14 sevenths and 2. And how many sevenths will there then be in 5? 5 is not in your chain, but you can use that thinking to figure out how many sevenths will there be in 5. That's right, it will be 35. And then how many sevenths are there and in 3 and 4 sevenths? How many sevenths have we got here all together? 3 sevenths will be 21, but don't forget about the extra 4 sevenths, eh? So in 3 holes, we'll have 21 sevenths, and another 4, that gives me 25 sevenths. Okay, so what can we say is a seventh times 5? And again, you can use your chain to look for it, because if we're gonna say a seventh times 5, that's basically the same as saying 5 sevenths. So that's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I keep adding a seventh 5 times, and that's going to give me 5 sevenths. That's the same as saying, if you look at your chain, 1 seventh plus another seventh plus another seventh plus another seventh. Because remember, multiplication is just repeated addition. So if you look at your chain and you see, okay, I added 5 sevenths together and I get up to this point, oh, that actually gives me 5 sevenths, because multiplication and repeated addition is the same thing. So what will a seventh times 11 be? So that's the same as saying I take a seventh and I add 11 sevenths together. That is going to give me 11 sevenths. So it's 1 over 7. Let's go to our chain. We can look at it, look for it here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Here's 11 sevenths. So a seventh times 11 is 11 sevenths. And then what is a seventh times 28? Use that same thinking. 28 sevenths. That's right. Guys, we don't multiply. Be careful. We don't multiply the 7 with the 28. Listen carefully to the reasoning, okay? The reasoning says a seventh times 28. So it's literally 28 sevenths that you're adding together. So 28 sevenths, we'll write 28 sevenths. Okay. Right. So we'll do a bit more of that on Wednesday and keep going to develop those ideas for ourselves. And let's have a look today at some addition. So we have here, after a party, there was 2/8 of one cake and 3/8 of another cake of the same size left over. Okay, so we've got these 2 cakes, same size, 2/8 left of the one cake, 3/8 left of the other cake. How much cake was left over? Put it in the chat. I have 2/8 of one cake and 3/8 of another cake. Let's not worry about simplifying now. Let's just think about it. The question is, how much was left over? So we have 2/8 and 3/8 left over. So how much was left over? Don't guess, guys. Think it through, write it down, reason it out on the page where you are. Okay, so how can we think about this? If I have 2/8 of one cake, here's my cake. Let's say it's this one over here. And it was cut into 8 slices, and now I have all of it was eaten except for 2/8. Same size cake over here. And what I have left over after everyone ate cake was 3/8. So if I have 2/8 over here and 3/8 over there, how many eighths do I have altogether? Those of you who are saying 1/8, you need to think carefully because that's not the right answer. We have 2/8 plus another 3/8. How many eighths do I have together? And that is 5/8. Okay, so let's look at another one. After a party, there was 3/10 of one pizza and 5/10 of another pizza of the same size left over. How much pizza was left over? Okay, so here we can see the way we can do it is to say I take the 3/10 plus the 5/10. That's easy because they're the same. Put it together and that gives me 8/10. Now I want you to notice here that we're just taking tenths. We're taking the same things and we're putting them together. We are not making something new by changing this to 8/20ths. Okay, I see some of you are saying it must be 20ths, but that's not right. Okay, we need to just add 3/10 and 5/10, and together I have 8/10. Right, there are 6 sums for you to do. I'm going to leave you for 2 minutes to do them on your own. Look at the example if you get stuck, and then try it again. So 2 minutes on your own. Miss Kat, will you able to chat, please? Don't worry about simplifying now. We are just practicing our adding. Okay, that's 2 minutes. Just have a look. Even if you're not finished yet, doesn't matter. Just have a look at what you did as far as you got. So 2/5 plus 1/5, that gives me 3/5. And 7/16 plus 5/16. How many 16ths do I have altogether? 11. No, wait. 12. 12/16. If you simplify it, it's fine, but you don't have to. That's not the point of this exercise at the moment. We're just focusing on adding. 5/8 plus 3/8 gives me 8/8, which you could have said is a 1. And then 10/16 plus 4/16, altogether I have 14/16. And then 2/4 plus 3/4, altogether there are 7/4. And 7/8 plus 6/8, altogether I have 14/8. Oh no, that's 13/8. 13/8. Okay, good stuff. Now, let's have a look. So that's easy because we're just adding the same things together. But what if it is different? So Faith ate 3/8 of a pizza and Bongi ate 1/2 of a pizza. The same one, okay? So how much pizza did they eat all together? So what we now have to do is add the 3/8 and the 1/2 together. So the thing here is we have different size slices. So if we have different size slices, 3/8 and 1/2, we need to maybe find a way to do this that can work for us. So what we've got here is 3/8 plus 1/2. 1/2 is the same as 4/8. So that is much easier to add together. Guys, just pay attention to what we're doing now. If I made a mistake, so be it. Sorry, let's move on. 1/2 is the same as 4/8. So 3/8 plus 4/8 gives me 7/8. So we need to make the denominator a multiple of the other. Okay. So let's see this first one. 1/2 is equal to, 1/2 plus 1/4 is equal to how much? How are we going to add this together? We need to make the fractions the same kind of fraction. So what can we change it to? Yeah, so like the man says here with the glasses, it's easy because one denominator is a multiple of the other. So 1/2 is the same as 2/4 plus 1/4. That gives me 3/4. That's right. So you can times by 2, or you can just look at the denominators, especially if they are multiples of each other. And then you can ask yourself, so what is 1/2 the same as? How many quarters will 1/2 be? And then we can add it easily like that. All right, let's do one more together, and then you can try the rest on your own. 3/8 plus 1/4. What are we going to do here? Put in the chat what you think. So it seems like we're going to change the quarter to eighths. So how many eighths, how many quarters are there, or how many eighths are there in a quarter? Or you can say times the 4 by 2 to make it an 8. Let's do that. And then we have 3/8 plus 2/8. That gives me 5/8. There we go. So we make the denominators the same because it's easier. All right. So we are going to do for the next few minutes, let's do up to H. So again, on your own there for the next 3 minutes till 1/2 work to do from C to H. And Miss Kat, if you can disable the chat again, please. It is not question time now, guys. If you have a question, you just need to keep it till question time. Just work now for the next few minutes to do C to H. If you are done already, there is a little extra one there for you to do. Right, let's have a look, everybody. So we have a half plus 3/16. So it would be easier to do if we can say the half as how many sixteenths that will be. So that will be 8/16 plus 3/16, and altogether 11/16. Ms. Kat, will you please disable the chat? If people are going to use the chat for personal conversations, we just disable it. Okay, so a half plus 5/8. So we can say that a half is the same as 4/8 plus 5/8, and that's 9/8 altogether. So 3/4, we can say that that is going to be the same as 6/8. And 6/8 plus 3/8 is 9/8. So here we have a half again and 7/16. So a half is going to be 8/16 and 7/16, and altogether we have 15/16. And then 2/4 plus 7/8, we're going to say how many eighths are 2/4? That's the same as 4/8 plus 7/8, and that is 11/8. And then 9/16 plus 3/4 is 9/16 plus how many 16ths will 3/4 be? That is going to be 12. And that is 21/16 altogether. Right. So that's adding. And next up, we're going to go do some subtraction. But first, we're going to practice our equivalent fractions a little bit. Okay, so for the next few minutes, work on your own and do question A to D. We have to say a half. How many quarters in a half? That's 2/4. How many sixths in a half? That's 3. And how many eighths in a half? They will be 4/8 in a half. Okay, so you carry on, you do the rest, B, C, and D. And I am going to take 1 or 2 questions. Okay, Mpo, you are first.
Ma'am?
Yes.
Ma'am, how do you do I don't understand, ma'am.
Which one?
The one that we did before at question I, letter I. The one for
But question I was just an extra one. Did you do the other ones before that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I was just an extra one. So I'll put it up at the end. Okay. Right, next question is Ishmael. Ask your question. I'm waiting.
Ma'am, I didn't understand it. Question number 3, the whole exercise.
Which one?
Question number 3.
Of which one? The previous exercise?
Yes, ma'am. Like 3A, answer 3H. Because, ma'am, 2 plus 1 is equals to 3, ma'am. And also, 1 plus 3, ma'am, is equal to 4. I didn't understand when you said it's equals to
So I'll quickly explain this again. We changed these to the same fraction, kind of fraction. So we have halves and quarters. So because the half and the quarter, the denominators are multiples of each other. So we can say, okay, the half, one way to think about it is how many quarters are in a half? So there's 2/4 in a half. So we can change the half to 2/4, and then we add 1 more quarter to it. And altogether, that's 2/4 plus 1/4. That gives you 3/4 altogether. And that's basically the same reasoning for the rest of the sums as well.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Right. I'm going to go on to Kolofelo.
Ma'am,
Yes.
can I ask a question on number 2, ma'am? Number 2E.
2B.
E, ma'am.
Of which one? The previous exercise?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, 2E.
Ma'am, can I ask how is it 7/4?
That was the one I think everyone was complaining about. So 2 plus 3 is 5. Yeah, I think Ms. Kat did say in the chat. Right, is that all you wanted to know?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, bye. Right, so Setu. Suzette, you can ask your question.
Hello, ma'am.
Hi.
I have a question about when you have to times the sums that we just did now. What do you go according when you times?
Like where? Like what we did at the very beginning? Like here?
Yeah. No, now.
No, but we're not timesing now, we're adding.
No, the
What
one
do you
where
mean? Like to make them the same?
Yes, where you have
Oh,
to
to make them the same. So there's a few ways that you can do it. So you can say how many eighths in a quarter. That's one way. Or you can look at the 4 and the 8. And you can say, what must I times the 4 by to get the 8? And so what must you times the 4 by to get the 8?
2.
But you can't just times the 4 by 2, you also have to times the numerator by 2. So that gives you 2 eighths.
What can you do at the top?
Yeah, so what you do at the bottom to get the eighths, you
do at
also
the
have to do at the top. But
Yes.
it's much better if you can try and think how many eighths are there in a quarter, and maybe look at like a fraction wall until you understand that part, and then you can kind of, it's like a shortcut method. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Last question from Unati.
Ma'am, hello, ma'am.
Hi.
Ma'am, this has been struggling me. How do you simplify?
How do you simplify? Okay,
Yes,
we're going
ma'am.
to do that. We're going to do that later, but not today. Okay, so we're going to do it later in another lesson. We're going to
Yes, ma'am.
simplify. Okay. So just come back probably on Wednesday. All right.
I'll be there, ma'am.
Okay. Right, guys, we have to get back to doing these and finishing them up so we can finish our lesson. So a quarter, what are we going to say that is? That is the same as 3/12. And how many 16ths in 1/4? You can say there is 4 16ths in 1/4. And 3/4, how many eighths are that? Are there in 3/4? So that can be 6 eighths. Just a sec, everyone. Sorry, we're just sorting something out. Right, okay, all sorted. So 3/4, how many 12ths in 3/4? So for that, that'll be 9 12ths in 3/4. And then how many 16ths in 3/4? So that's going to be 12. And there will be 2 16ths in an eighth, and 4 16ths in 2 eighths, and in 3 eighths there will be 6. Okay, so I actually want you to look at this now, what we just did. Fix yours if you made a mistake somewhere, and see if you notice anything, if you maybe notice a pattern or anything that you notice. Have a look at that, and yeah, write down what it is that you notice. So if I look at halves and quarters, what do you notice? A half and sixths, half and eighths, quarters, eighths, 12ths, 16ths. Especially if it's 1/4, how many eighths? 1/4, how many 12ths? 1/4, how many 16ths? And then the same with the 3/4, and then 1/8 and 2/8 and 3/8. What do you notice happens with the 16ths? Just see if you notice anything, a pattern or something, a clue. Right, I'm not going to give it away. I'm going to leave it there for you to think about and ponder. And we're going to go on to doing some subtraction of fractions. So here we go again. Lorna ate 5/8 of a chocolate and Kaleka ate a half. How much more chocolate did Lorna eat? So those words, how much more, tells us that we are working with a subtraction problem, or a problem where we have to work out the difference between two numbers. So we have 5/8 and Kaleka ate a half. So we have to subtract a half from 5/8. Not so great if we have two fractions of different kinds. We have eighths and halves. So can we change it? Yes, we can. We can make a half 4/8. So 5/8 minus 4/8 is going to give you 1/8. So you can read what it says in the bubble here. That's there to help us. Sally changes the fractions to the same kind before she subtracts. Okay, and that's the whole point about making the denominators the same. We are making the fractions of the same kind because then it's easier to work with. So we've got some here to do. I'll do this first one with you. I'm going to leave the example up so that you can see how it's done. And I'll do the first one as well. So 7/8 minus a half. So 7/8, we're going to change that half. How many eighths in a half? There are 4/8 in a half. And that's going to give me 7/8 minus 4/8 is 3/8. And now on your own, you can do B, C, D, and E for the next few minutes. Okay, while everyone is working, I'll take one or two questions. Let's see. Nkubeko, you have your hand up.
Ma'am, how did you turn it into 3/8?
Sorry. Yes.
How did you turn it into 3/8? I can't follow.
So 7/8 minus 4/8. What is 7 minus 4? I'm just taking 7/8 and I'm taking 4/8 away. How many eighths am I going to have left?
Wouldn't that be 3?
Yeah, so that's why the answer is 3/8. Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, Nosipo, I'm going to give you a turn.
Ma'am, I was asking, how do you give you how do I give you my marks?
For your marks for what?
For my work, for my math work.
That you do in the lesson.
Yeah.
No, I don't take those. You just keep them there and you look at them yourself and you make sure that you are improving, etc. So you don't give those to me.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And
right, let's have a look. 7/8 minus a quarter. So 7/8, and we are going to subtract a quarter. How many eighths will that be? That will be 2/8. So 7/8 minus 5/8, 2/8 gives me 5/8. And 5/8 minus a 16th. So if we need to make these the same, we're going to make the eighths into 16ths. And maybe something you noticed here, if you have eighths and you have to make them into 16th, maybe one of you noticed, or more than one of you noticed, that you actually double. So if you have 2/8, that's 4/16. 3/8 give you 6/16, and in our case, 5/8, that's going to give you 10/16. So noticing little things like that just makes it a little bit easier. And then a half is going to be 8/16 minus 1. That's 7/16. And the last one, 3/4 minus 3/8. So 3/4 minus 3/8. We're going to make the quarters into eighths. So how many eighths will there be in a quarter? In a quarter, there's 2/8. So in 3/4, there will be 6/8. And that gives me 3/8. Alrighty. I think that is all we have time for today. We were still going to do some mixed numbers as well, but we have run out of time, so we'll do mixed numbers. We'll touch on that on Wednesday.